Yep.
Great. Krishna, it's an absolute privilege to have you on the podcast, man. And you've been someone I really wanted to speak to for quite some time. And you were on my list right from the start of the podcast journey. And because how should I put it? Me as a listener and me as a fan of Sir is on the other side of the world with the pleasure of listening to all the hard work that you guys put in inside the studio, and we use that music to heal through everything that's happening around us, especially in the current times, right? And then I don't know what I would have done without music. And yourself and Sir and the entire team work very hard to give us that magic. And I've been always very keen to speak to each one of you, to know about your journey and to know about what goes into creating that magic, and also your own journey as well, in terms of how your childhood has been, and what's the upbringing, what the upbringing was like, in terms of did you know the music was always your thing and things like that. So there are so many curious questions in my mind, and I'm sure we'll touch upon each of those. Before we dive into that, I just wanted to say a massive thank you for coming in, for accepting my invite to come on this podcast. It means a lot. I'm doing this as a tribute, and with a lot of love, respect, and integrity for Sir. And the journey has been great. Your guest number 67.
Oh my
So
God.
the it has been a dream ride, and I had never
Mm,
imagined that something like this would happen. So, in fact, when Sir came on the podcast, I think 35 people had come by then, I think. And I told Sir, 35 people have come on the podcast already. And then at that point, he said, your intent is right. That's all he said.
mm,
And now it's like double. So thank you so
right.
much, man, for coming on the podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thanks
And
so much, Hanzal. Thanks for having me.
I've always seen your name on the credits and stuff.
Mm,
I've always wondered a number of things in terms of, okay, what did these guys actually do, and what does programming actually mean, and
mm,
what does additional programming mean? These are the type of questions I've always had from
mm,
quite some time, right?
mm.
And then, but anyway, we'll not jump into that straight. But so, how have you been? I know we've we're still going through interesting times.
Mhm. Yeah, actually, I mean, by God's grace, it's been fine. The lockdown and all, it kind of shaped me into something else. I've always been like, a kind of an evolving person. And I was able to, use this time to do something else, which I've always wanted to do in my life.
Yeah.
We started a plugin company, and we've come out with a plugin which
Mm.
recently won 2 awards at the Media Innovation Awards Festival from
Congratulations
here,
for that.
and it was the first plugin from India. So
Beautiful.
we are super proud of that. And I these are some of the problems that we can't wait for someone else with a different Western mindset to solve these kind of problems. That's the kind of problems we are trying to solve, and it's basically for everybody. It's
Mm.
based to it was the company was formed to give back to the musicians company,
Mm.
and whatever challenges constraints that I was facing as a music producer, I tried to solve it, and turns out it's a global problem, and everybody's loving it. uh, yeah, so in terms of what was your first question, and like.
Well, I mean, there are plenty of questions, but the thing is, all that I really wanted to know was, how have you been keeping yourself positive in terms of the pandemic and everything that's going on? But looks like you smashed it really hard with Fluid Pitch. Congratulations for the 2 awards, and it so proud of you, man. I mean, it's amazing because as much as the world was going through so much, and then there was so much negativity from all around, and still trying to stay focused and being positive, and then innovating something out of it. It's a big thing. Congrats for
Thanks
that.
so much. See, I don't think, I mean, like if you just be, at home and think, like, wait for everything to become normal,
Right.
that would have been very tough for me also.
Mm.
Frustrating and all that stuff. So rather, I shifted my mind into something else, and I thought, let me focus on that, which kind of helped. Um,
Beautiful. Nice. Uh, I remember reading a post on your timeline. You put in all your savings into the fluid pitch. That is a big move. I mean, I would love to hear more about where did this thought come from, and also at what point did you decide that okay, that's it, I'm going to bite the bullet and put in all my money in there and let's see what happens.
Yeah, so I was having this idea from 2019, right? And it kind of formed, uh, it was a four-stage product, and the product that we put out is just the foundation product.
Yeah.
Our end goal was to be able to play any kind of harkat or gamakas
Mm.
easily on a keyboard, and that's not a small thing. If you actually look into some data, we have a 1 billion people in our country, and there's hardly 10 keyboard players who play Carnatic
Mm.
properly in keyboard.
Mm.
Like when I say Carnatic, like if you put them on stage and ask them to give 10 like a half an hour Carnatic concert on keyboard, there's hardly 10 people to do it.
Mm.
And that's, to me, it's I thought like something fundamentally wrong. Like, keyboard was not, if you speak to the Carnatic musicians community, they don't consider keyboard itself as a Carnatic instrument. So, and obviously there's some physical constraints in it, and there have been recent developments and all that stuff.
Mm.
um, so this was my effort to try and uh, reduce that practice time, right now, like, if someone wants to play Carnatic in keyboard, they have to practice 7 years, 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, of course, but it doesn't have to be that hard, because there was some fundamental problems with the keyboard. It's taking that much time, and we've and our aim is to cut that down as much as possible. And so even with just like 5 to 6 months, you should be able to play. uh, with the of course, you have to have the musicianship inside, but if you have the musicianship inside, the expressing it on a keyboard shouldn't be that much hard. So after having that idea on, like, at the end of 2019, in 2020, I went to NAM, where the MIDI 2.0 was announced. MIDI is the standard way in which musical instruments communicate. MIDI stands for musical instruments digital interface.
Yeah.
So there was another evolution of it coming, which was getting announced. So I was very curious about it, and I
Mm.
went all the way to Anaheim in LA to learn more about it.
Wow.
Met a lot of people, and I was trying to solve this problem, with as as less as investment
Mm.
possible and all that
Mm.
stuff. And my initial idea was to make it like a hardware
Mm.
piece, and
Mm.
there's something like something which you can put on top of any keyboard and then use.
Mm.
But turned out, if you want to do in hardware, it'll take at least like 100,000 US dollars, which is like a small thing for the US people and US companies and stuff. But for us, it's a substantial amount.
Yeah.
So I was like heartbroken for 2 months, like, came back. And then, like, I kind of gave up on that idea, and then the pandemic started.
Mm.
And in the pandemic, I again started refining my idea a little bit more, and started again reaching out to some other people.
Mm.
And luckily, I found one person who said, this can be done in software as well.
Right.
Why don't we start with software? And I was like, okay, let's do it.
Right.
And then uh, software is not cheap as well right now. So
Yeah.
and developers are all US people, Israelis and all stuff.
Yeah.
So and I just didn't think twice. I just took out all my savings and started developing this.
So how long did it take?
So that's how it started, and I'm pretty happy how it turned out. Today we have a product that's helping musicians to perform with more confidence on stage and open new possibilities in studios, which is
Right.
great.
So it's less than a year actually when you think about it, right?
Right, but the idea was much more behind
Yeah. Yeah.
the concept and
Yeah.
all that
Yeah.
was much more
So
earlier.
just out of curiosity, what platform is this software built on? How
It's a
does someone
software.
get access to it?
So it's built on a platform called Juice. It's based on C++,
Right.
and it can be used in any DAW, which is a digital audio
Mm.
workstation.
Mm.
And all you have to do is use it prior to your synth or sampler, and what it does is it specifically focuses on one aspect of your keyboard, which is your pitch bend wheel, which will be in the left side
Mm.
of the keyboard, right?
Mm.
It just takes that messages alone, which is actually one of the very high resolution, the
Mm.
most high res controller of the whole keyboard in the
Mm.
MIDI specification. There's 16,000 data points in that. Okay, and nobody has used it to its full potential.
Mm.
And we are the one of the first companies to use it, push that data points to its limits, and
Mm.
put it together in an arrangement which makes musical sense to people, and so they can perform. What we have done essentially in a nutshell is teach a little bit of music to that pitch bend wheel, so it understands what you play, and it it so if you play in a minor or major or raga, whatever, it starts working with you a little bit, and
Right.
it knows from which note, if you bend from which note to which note, you will go in that scale. If you
Mm.
go up or if you go down, how many semitones it will be. All the data is uh, taken, and we just ask for two data points from you, and then based on that we build all this day things that's going
Right.
to help you perform
Right.
better.
Nice. Um, Amazing. I mean, sounds really great. And is
Mhm.
um, how should I put it? Why was the inclination only towards Carnatic music?
See, I don't think it's, even though the root of solving this problem came from there,
Yeah.
but the problem that we solved is global. It's To answer your question more specifically, in Indian music, there are a lot of ragas in which the if you take some of the ragas, there's only like there's more than three notes gap. Like
Mm.
you have you like sari ma pa ni sa, like there are pa to ni, or there are big gaps between
Mm.
notes, right?
Mm.
If you take any major, minor, any traditional Western scales, they are all smaller intervals, so they can use the pitch bend wheel and pretty much work around it.
Mm.
But our Indian music is not like that. It has the glides and the gamakas, harkats are more intricate, and our scales itself is more intricate. If I say a set of notes going up and down, that
Mm.
can be for three or four ragas, and
Mm.
only the experts know based on how it is sung, it is this raga or that raga.
Right.
So I learned Carnatic music very little when I was a child. So I always had this fear, because it's like it's complex in terms of gamakas and all that stuff. When I was very young, I felt it boring. But now, after in my late 20s, 30s, and I feel the intricacy, and which how much passion and stuff it was,
Mm.
developed so many years back.
Mm.
And I would like to express some of those things in my keyboard as well,
Mm.
but it turns out very tough. It's and if you have to do it, you have to practice for 3 or 4 years, and which that's a time frame which I didn't have, working with Sir, working nights and all that stuff. I was like, okay, either I can stop all this practice for 3 years, or
Yeah.
I can invent something else
Yeah. Yeah.
that will solve this problem. So I chose the second path.
Very nice. Great. And so, what's the way forward for Fluid Pitch now that you've got the well-deserved recognition, if I can put it that way, and thumbs up from Sir? I'm sure he must be super proud of you, no doubt.
Yeah, he was pretty happy and he was very excited. And he tweeted the within the
Yeah.
10 minutes. I think he was probably watching or something, and he was super happy that I got 2 awards. And
Yeah.
so the if we look at the way forward for pitch innovations, as I told, this is just a foundation product,
Yeah.
and we have more ideas to build on top.
Yeah.
And the thing with any 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 platform or any ideas, if you give them straight away too much, it becomes a complex product.
Mm.
I think you have to like build it little by little,
Yeah.
step by step. Otherwise it will become a complex problem. Even though we are trying to solve a complex problem, we have to come up with a simple solution and solve it step by step.
I agree.
uh,
Very nice.
so
And
yeah, we have a couple of more products in the pipeline.
for sure, and I'm pretty sure either you've already started using it as part of your work in the studio, or Sir is already thinking. Is there anything along those lines?
Yeah, so I've started using it in my productions, and all my friends are using it. My
Yeah,
close friends in the
yeah,
circles, my music producers, both in Chennai and Bombay. Um, and sir, yeah, obviously we've installed in both his laptop and the main computer, and he's also using it. Um, and he actually I've heard he did a small song. I mean, I can't talk about it. It'll come out soon.
nice, very nice, great. And look, also one of the things is as part of the ILO ARR podcast journey, what's also happened is a number of Sir's fans from various parts of the world started connecting with me, and then in fact 90% of the people who have connected with me are more of music enthusiasts in terms of they are singers, music producers, and some of them are composers, and a lot of them are aspirational musicians as well. And then um, so what's called this ILO ARR community has now evolved as part of this, which is like it's fun.
Mhm.
What I wanted to ask you was if any of the music producers or the wannabe music producers in the community wanted to use or um, get in touch with you about fluid pitch, how do they go about doing it? Or can they?
Yeah,
First
so
question, rather.
of course it was cemented for everybody, and we intentionally priced it very less.
Yeah,
We I could have priced it at whatever price I wanted, but
yeah.
I've kept it at
Mm,
a place even a student could
mm,
afford. And of course anybody can visit pitchinnovations.com and
mm.
download a free trial and buy the software there. It's only $49.
Nice.
um,
Great.
yeah, and you can always get in touch with me in LinkedIn or something.
Mm,
If you want to get in touch personally, and then yeah, you can use
okay.
LinkedIn.
Awesome. And
Mhm.
is that yourself, or is there another team that helps and supports people who get the
Yeah,
plugin?
we have a support team.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a couple of other a couple teams, like
Okay.
there's a coding team, support team, a video
Nice.
team, marketing team, so many teams. No, I think this it was making a product was one thing, and learning about all these things was another. This completely different thing. So
Right.
yeah,
Amazing. And
it's actually we are still learning a lot. It's still a young company, and in
mm,
terms of communications and building the brand, we have a lot to learn,
mm,
and that is something we are working on.
beautiful. I love stories like this. It's amazing. So it's amazing, man. I mean, I really like this to flourish even more. And hopefully, by the time we meet for the second podcast, I really hope that it's gone 10 times bigger.
Thanks
And I
so
find
much.
it
I appreciate
extremely
it.
hard to get hold of you for the podcast. I hope that happens. I'm sure that'll happen.
You'll always have my time.
Thank you. Uh, Krishna, so thing is, I mean, thanks for the in-depth uh, walkthrough of your fluid pitch journey. I mean, it's like I really like stories like this. I mean, it gives me the kick to keep learning and then trying to think out of the box and then coming out with something. And in fact, you know sir better than anyone else, and then sir is always up to something, learning something new. And all the interactions that I have with him is, it's always about something new, and then he gives me inputs on certain things, and I start reading about it, and then I talk about that with him, and then he gives me further inputs. What I do not know is, how does he find time to read about so many things? In fact, I once asked in one of the meetings, I asked him, sir, I, I just spoke about just one thing, and then he went on and on about it, and then I told him, sir, எப்படி sir, how do you find time for this? And how do you know about all this? You seem to know everything, absolutely everything, every topic under the sun. And he said, I read a lot.
Right. So one of these things that I noticed about not just sir, even with some of the people like Kamal Hassan sir and all these big people, um, uh, if you don't have a degree or like something that says you are educated, you're super educated or something, there's some kind of feeling that always keeps them learning. Like it's something underground in their mind that's
Yeah.
that keeps them always on the run and for more and it's not, I mean, of course he can obviously say, hey, I've achieved so much,
Yeah.
I don't have to learn all this, but he's always passionate about learning the next thing.
Correct.
I want to tell you a story. The Mac Pro, the aluminum Mac Pro tower, the not the new cheese grater design, the very first model. Sir bought that in London, okay,
The one
and
which was like
not
a
the trash can,
not that one.
the very first model
Ah, the first one.
of
Yeah,
Mac,
yeah. Okay, yeah.
yeah. So Sad bought that for almost like double the price in London. Okay, and it was not officially released in London. So some of these people had bought it from US and selling it, and Sad bought it for double the price or something. And then you know why? Because he had bought a DSP card which will fit inside that computer 1 year earlier than the Apple that Mac Pro released. So imagine this: buying a card worth like a couple of lakhs, and knowing buying something saying, okay, this is going to be supported on the next generation of Mac Pro, which is going to be released probably maybe in 1 year's time,
Yeah.
and then waiting for that, and then coming, using that, and then the thing with all this thing is being when you're at the edge of technology, you're the one facing all this bug reports, bug crashes, and all the stuff. Then you have to, like, you're not even sure. They themselves have fixed the bugs, all of it, right? So the first thing we always do is, like, when we know that these are like some of the new things, we always check the latest firmwares, latest software updates, and all that, and then only we start investigating the problems for. And it's always a battle when it comes to uh, adapting to all the things that he buys every time when he comes back from US. He's like every time he comes back from US, there's like suitcase or two with all this new stuff. And at my beginning of my career, I used to be like, yeah, we're getting more stuff. And after 10 years, I'm like, okay, can we find someone else to do all this?
Yeah.
um,
You can't keep up.
yeah. So to answer your question, he's always passionate about learning about and being keeping himself updated in several fields, not just music field, right? And the thing about that is ideas always cross pollinate between different fields. Something that you learn in art can be used in music.
Hmm.
This is something I didn't realize early in my career. Something that you learn in game, some music, some game that you experience, the way they've used music in that can influence the music that you do today, right? So but it's always so it's good to be on all these things. And sir is always at the edge of the technology. He's been using VR
Yeah.
ever since it came out. AR also,
Hmm.
augmented reality, virtual reality. And he's been pushing us to learn about virtual audio and all, 3D audio and all the stuff. And yeah, it's been always like that. And
Yeah.
that's a short answer of your
Yeah.
question.
It's amazing because when you said MacBook Pro, something occurred in my mind. The M1 chip, the new Apple
Mm-hmm,
MacBook
mm-hmm,
Pro released, and so the day it was released, I got it on the same day, and then I showed it to Sir, and Sir spoke about so many things about M1 chip that I had not even thought of. And on the
mm-hmm,
day of the release, Sir is saying all these things, and he's saying you will have to wait for at least one more year to have all these apps updated to work on your machine. Blah blah blah. He went on, and and then 2 days later, I see that Sir has also got one M1. And it's just amazing because not just that. I remember, of course, Sir asked me about what I do in IT. I
mm-hmm,
work in the
mm-hmm,
Microsoft 365 space, and then I gave him a rundown about various things that I do. And then, believe it or not, Sir knew about all these things already. And he asked me about certain things that I do as part of my job, which he knew already.
mm-hmm.
And this amazes me. And I think it has stopped amazing me now, thinking that Sir just reads about everything. And
And it's not just about reading. He literally has every laptop that Microsoft has made, every surfaces, every keyboard that releases, um, every Mac that has released. We can literally have an exhibition of every year's Mac laptops. And so what I'm trying to say is he's been using, not just reading,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
he has a first-hand experience about what he's talking about, not just he's not talking just based on reading.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. But it isn't Panchatan purely an Apple house. Why Microsoft?
uh See, this is an interesting question. I think I think sir chose Mac for maybe just the tagline, think different or something, very early in his career.
Yeah.
And because everybody else was using something else, and he wanted his uh, we can say ecosystems to be separate, so that it's better in many ways at many levels. So those days you have to go and work at different places. What if you lose some things? So it's always safer to be on a different platform.
Hmm.
It could be one of the reasons as well. And also, you know it was one of the best, obviously. And he likes those kind of stuff.
You like shiny
And
stuff.
so yeah, so it's not some decision that he took in the middle. So he's been on the Mac side of things from the very early of his career. So I've seen the G3, G4 kind of
Yeah, yeah,
laptops,
yeah.
Mac laptops, when I joined. So I don't think it's a decision that he took later. It's been his decision from beginning.
Right, okay. Right. But he is also very fascinated to see what Microsoft does and all that, right?
He is. See, especially when there was some stage in the middle, right? Like where the value proposition of Mac and PC was varying a lot, and PC was like catching up.
Mm,
And at that point, he was starting to explore. He was just checking out
mm,
the PC stuff. He was buying certain PCs and just checking out things. So that is when he started following PC as well,
yeah.
and especially with Microsoft Surface and all those really cool products. And Microsoft is not, they've kind of leveling up, right?
Mm,
So it's nice that he's using all of these.
right. So are you a Mac person or a Surface person?
I have Mac, but actually I started as a PC person,
Right.
and then when I joined Sir, I had no choice but to shift to Mac.
Right. And any regrets?
No. uh,
Right.
I mean, it's more simpler, right? Mac is more simpler. I mean, not many people like going under the hood and touching wires. So a PC is something like that. Like it gives access to deep access to many things, um, and for most people, you don't need that, right?
Yeah.
So most people are comfortable with, should be comfortable with Mac.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, look, of course, would love to know more about so many other aspects as well, but I want to take a step back, and I just would love to know what's your childhood been like? Did you know music, music production, and stuff like that was always going to be your thing? And if so, at what point did you actually realize, and how, what has your journey been?
So yeah, so being born to a studio musician, my father is a rhythm arranger and music producer himself, and he has worked with Sir for several years. Um, being born in a music family, and my father is a musician who takes me to studios when I was young.
Mm,
I used to go see him work. And see all his friends like Sivamani uncle and all these people play different instruments. So studio world was always fascinating for me, even from the younger age.
mm.
But I was doing multiple things. I was I was good in music, I was good in dance, I was good in
Oh,
multiple
wow.
aspects. and and I think at start, my dad joined me on keyboard. I was and he was very strict on that. Strict that I had to do 8 grades of theory and 8 grades of piano, and I ended up doing only 5. Uh, but that his seriousness brought some interest and some kind of seriousness to me on music, and somehow I kind of gravitated towards music more and more.
Yeah.
And when it came to my after 12th, I was like, okay, most people do engineering in India, that's fine. At least let me do audio engineering, because I know I'm going to be a musician or something. uh, so let me do something that's part of that makes sense in the music field,
Yeah.
right? So I was sure about this one decision in my life. I was said to my dad, like, look, Dad, okay, you wanted me to study till 12th. I did. Now I want to do audio engineering only, not any other engineering, right? And he was kind enough to put me on that. And
It's amazing that you
even
had that clarity at that point, though.
right, that is something I'm proud of myself. That because and I was also programming by that point. I was started. I had my dad's PC. I was programming a little bit of
Yeah.
uh, stuff. But the only way forward for me to, like, go into some audio engineering to learn more, the the because the only other option is like you can go assist all this audio engineering people and all this stuff, and then be an intern. That seemed to be a lot like a long journey for me. And I thought, okay, instead of learning it that way, let's at least get a certification in this, and then go
Mm.
stand behind people. So uh, we at least know what we are know what they're doing, right? Instead of not knowing anything and going standing behind them,
Mm. Mm.
to me this made more sense. So
Nice.
I did my audio engineering, and actually even while doing audio engineering I was more into programming side of things. And I was in friends, or my best friends were all programmers. My my favorite teachers were all teachers who teach programming and all the stuff. So yeah, so I was programming. Then after my college I was working under many music directors like S.A. Rajkumar, T Rajan. There
Mm.
a lot of Tamil music directors, even some few Telugu.
Mm.
And then I thought that's going to be my journey, and I was just
Mm.
in that for 1 or 2 years. Suddenly one fine day my dad pulled me and from there and dropped me at Panchatan. Panchatan.
Right.
uh, yeah, from there it's been quite a journey.
Wow. And that wasn't the first time you met Sir, though, right?
No, I've met him several times before.
Yeah.
Like whenever Sir, my dad used to play for Sir, I used to always come assist him, like assist him with his
Mm.
instruments,
Mm.
stand in the in, stand and watch the control room, watch what Sir's doing, watch other keyboard players. Those time, like Joshua Sri. Do you know Joshua Sridhar, the
Yeah.
composer?
Yeah.
So he used to be the keyboard player that at
Right.
that time, and
Right.
he had a big car. And, he used to park inside Sir house, go program. So he was like my role model. Oh my god, and all that. and and then after that, I think GV Prakash was there,
Yeah.
and then GV Prakash left, and then uh, after he left, I got the chance to work with him because there was an empty space, which and I think my dad put me on the right time at the right place by God's grace.
And which year was that?
I think it's
2005?
2005 or
Yeah.
5 or 6.
Yeah. Wow. Nice. 2005 and 2021. It's been a journey for sure.
Hmm.
Do you
Yeah,
remember what's your day one? What your day one was like when your dad put you
sure.
in the studio?
Yeah, sure. They put me on one infrared room, one of the programming rooms like this, and the song was given to me,
Right.
and then no brief. So I was doing whatever how
Do you
I
remember
was.
which song?
I think my first song was Vaji Vaji
Right.
from Shivaji.
Yeah.
And I was also working on my second song was in Rang De Basanti. So I
Nice.
was doing whatever felt like. And then suddenly Sir came after like 1 or 2 days. He heard that and said, gave some of the ideas, and then yeah.
Right.
So first 1 or 2 days, nobody was there, just me.
So you're just basically figuring out things.
I'm trying to understand how this whole place works, and it took 1 or 2 years actually. It's just because a lot of big people are there, like
Mm. Mm.
mm, kind of protecting the whole
Yeah.
infrastructure.
Yeah.
Uh, they would make sure that whoever they join in the team is worthwhile.
Yeah.
That person has that integrity or the commitment and talent and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So it is not normal. It is not usual to see 1 or 2 projects not people get credited.
Mm.
So they're just checking you, like you will be interning, you would work in 1 or 2 projects, you not even get uh, you know uh, and then if you hold back, if you still work, and then they then you become part of the team. And
Right.
it was like breaking into something like for me with all these legends, with Sridhar sir and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then after once we, he accepted us as me as a team, then it was all smooth, like
It's more like a probation period before, huh?
yeah, I think so. But I think for them that is how it was for them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is how. But today things are different. Today, if someone comes out from KM or something, we can't do that, those kind of stuff to them. To they everybody is treated equally, and
But they
um,
still join as interns.
yeah, they do. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Nice. And so, buddy, I mean, I know you're into programming and then production. So, I like how should I put it? What's your typical day in Panchadan is like? What time does it start and what time does it end? I know there is no timing. It's a bad question.
So okay, let me put it this way. uh, so I think it kind of depends on the time zone that says come back from the country. Like um, if he's come back from London, it would start a little late. But usually, it starts at 3 in the afternoon,
Yeah.
and ends somewhere between 5 to 5 a.m. Or anywhere between 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. So it's 3 to 3. But
Mm.
things would change. Things would radically change if he's on jet lag from some other time zone. Suddenly he'll start working in the morning, and we'll all be like, what is happening?
Right. So you basically, I mean, you adapt to the time zone that he is in. But lately, of
Right.
course, at least since the last close to an year, he's very much
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Chennai.
yeah. But we never had this privilege before.
Yeah. Right. So which means like which has been going okay in terms of going at a certain time and coming back home at a decent time and right.
Right.
Okay.
It's
And so the thing is, I mean, look, as part of the creative process, right? And let's take just any song for that matter. Doesn't really matter which song. Where does it start, and at what point do you jump in, and then what happens to that, and then what really is a typical life cycle of a song? So are you there as part of the composing process as well?
mhm.
Is it so? Just curious.
Sure, sure. Actually, this is a very interesting question. So traditionally, how composing works is like if you take other composers before Sir,
Yeah.
there would always be some composing assistants, right?
Mm.
And people will be with the composer playing some rhythm instruments or something to inspire that composer to come up with a tune, right?
Mm.
And that is not the process with Sir. Sir entirely comes up with the tune by himself alone, right?
Right.
That alone can be anywhere. It could be his prayer room, it could be just him and his laptop, in the studio, or in the lobby, anywhere. It could be anywhere. But once he comes up with the tune, and nobody knows this, he churns out lots of ideas, right? And he picks and chooses the best one for that particular project. And then once the green light comes from the director, then only after that point that tune comes inside the studio, right?
Right.
um, and so before it comes inside the studio, the track is already sent to the lyricist. And so by the time it comes inside the studio, it already has some rough lyrics.
Wow.
And we would the typical process is either me or someone who is working in the studio at that night would record a temp voice, what we call in the industry as track singing.
Yeah.
Some a really talented singer and really quick singer with a very nice voice would come in. Okay, usually these people are at the at the early stage of their career. If you look at all of these big singers, they've gone through this process at Sir, and it has obviously helped their career,
Yeah.
right from Karthik to Haricharan
Yeah.
to all the way to Sid Sriram, right?
Mm.
So they would come, and they would wait a few hours or whatever, and then they would come and sing this rough lyrics, or sometimes even without lyrics, just the tune of what Sarah sung,
Mm.
and we would record that. And usually there would be some form of arrangement in for the tune itself when Sir composes itself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it could be as simple as one basic form, one basic rhythm, or
Mm.
just a four chord progression kind of a thing.
Mm.
But some kind of backing would be there.
Mm.
This is something most people don't understand. Before Sir, uh, the composing, the melody would be composed by another composer, and arrangement would be done by another arranger, right? Sir was the actually, I think, many people before him has done this, uh, but Sir, I think, is one of the first person who never ever composes just a melody alone. He always composes the chord structure, the arrangement, as well as it's kind of like two eyes. They come in hand. Like, when he's writing the song itself, he's always holding a chord, and he's switching, and that kind of becomes the arrangement for all the whole idea that he's making, right?
Mm.
So in my whole experience, I would say there's only one or two instances in which one there was, he just came up with a tune with no arrangement whatsoever. But in most of the times, he's actually, he comes out with with the tune and the arrangement, like
Oh,
just even the basic chord structure.
yeah. Yeah.
So he composes them together.
Right.
So that idea comes in the studio, and it becomes one of our job to, like, kind of expand that idea. Look at the chords, put it into a better sound,
Mm.
um, set the tempo, record the voice,
Mm.
and that would be our first level programming. um, and the we would record the whole thing and send it to Sir.
Mm.
Then he would come and work on it again. Sometimes he would just select all and delete whatever we've done, do something fresh. That would be at least 5 times in 10, right? Because we have not given any brief whatsoever. So, uh, so we would not even know the situation of the song, and we would not even know for what project this is also sometimes.
Right.
So he would then come, do the arrangement, do the changes in the arrangement, and bring it to a point where it can be sent to a director. But this happens in a course of time. I think this is where things get little, you can't really say. It depending on the urgency of the project, and or the shoot dates or whatever. This can extend from few days to
Mm.
a few months
Mm.
maybe.
Mm.
um, but what happens is, there would be multiple versions of revisions on the lyric.
Mm.
The singer would come in multiple times to do the lyrics changes, punch in the lyrics changes, and there would be multiple revisions on the arrangement side, which is what we do.
Mm.
There would be at some point where he's happy with the rough arrangement, which is the programming part of the song. He would then say, okay, now let's jump guns, go record this instrument, go do the flute live, go do the guitar live, go do the strings live. And then we all get into action, start booking the studio, musicians, record all this stuff, um, make sure it's all top quality, bring it back into the session, and then that session will again come back to his master table. Um, and then he would again look into it, and if there's any changes that he want to do it, he will do it, right? So at this point we have a final lyrics sung by a good singer, and we have a almost final arrangement, we have almost final live instruments and all the stuff, and then people will take a call on who should be the final singer. So that call could be a collective decision between sir, director, or anybody, and or sometimes it could be um, just sir. But when sir is taking the decision, he's completely taking the decision based on what the song is asking. I think, I mean, this might sound weird, but I think there is a spiritual connection between the song and him. It kind of speaks to him. It's, it would ask for the kind of voice that it needs,
Mm.
and suddenly a name pops up in sir's mind, and he said, okay, let's go with this person, right? Most of the time, that would be the final
Yeah.
voice that we end up using, unless there's some situation where the director, not really happy with the voice or something, then we would end up changing. So now we have a final voice, and then now this, sir would sit on the track and get put together what we call as a shoot mix. Okay,
Right.
so he would make sure the everything is tight, the all the live thing that we put together doesn't have any flaws. He would make sure the quality is top notch, and this is the point where we are all getting shoutings. Okay, and based on how the thing is urgent, we're all running between studios with hard disks and all the stuff. uh, and at the end of the day, you will have a shoot mix that will send out to the director, which they'll put it in the Nagra or whatever and shoot. And then we'll come back to this track
Mm.
after a couple of months, or sometimes even years. That is when the audio will release, because they've gotten the song, they've gone shot the song, and then there's a period of waiting time, right? Like, they have to finish the whole shoot, they have to edit the movie. uh, they would ideally, before starting the background score, they would come and ask, say, sir, okay, we are almost done with the edit and everything, the post production, and we want to release the audio now, so that next month, we can give you the film for you to score, right? Something
Right.
like that.
Right.
So once we have a release date plan scheduled from the production people, then we'll come back to this track again. This could be few months or years, as I said. And by that point, sir has already become bored of literally every little thing that is there in the film, in the track. Okay, so he's like, who put this sound? Who is this? What is this? Why is this all of this sounding shitty? and and we are all like, oh my god, we have to redo all those things. Sometimes you would still like most of the things, but there would be 30% of the times there would be situation like this, where we might have to rework on all the stuff.
Right.
But it's always about taking the fighting for the last 10%, and that is something I really value, sir, for, right? And that's something that I've learned as a leader, and that is something that is helping me now run my company as well. The way he handles teams, the way he leads people with the right vision,
Mm.
and the way he not gives up on that last 10%, that, and for that 10%, he would literally sometimes put in twice or thrice amount of time
Mm.
to get that last 10%,
Mm.
to get that last 10% of quality in, right? So this, I have a tip for you. If you want sales type, one of the best way to get his time is to say, sir, I can get you a better quality version. Then he would wait, right? It was like, sometimes, like, some of the best producers will not get time, but if we say, sir, if we do this and install this plugin, or load up this mix this in this console, I think we will get better quality. He'll be like, wow, okay, let's do it, I'll wait. Right. uh,
I'll
and it
wait
really
is how
shows.
long is that wait? Will he give
it,
you a
it,
day
it
or
can be
two? Or
yeah, it could be half an hour, he himself literally waiting, or it could be a day or two, right? In that case, he'll obviously go do something else and come back. So but it actually shows his persistence for the quality, right?
yeah,
Yeah. So
amazing, man.
right. So after that point, at that point, I think I would say, like, once we have the release plan, there would be a process in which where we are shifting DAWs, right? We are shifting from SIRS music
Hmm.
composition software to a mixing music mixing software. So there's a transfer process which happens. We make sure, excuse me, we make sure that it's done in the top notch quality as possible, and we make sure the integrity or the musical intent stays the same when things are transferred between two different worlds. And the idea is, like, once we transfer the whole track to the DAW, we would mix in that.
Hmm.
So typically this is the mixing software, and
Yeah.
this is where the mixing desk, the mixing stage starts. And so more finer decision takes place, like some certain things, like hey, this voice was recorded in multiple times at multiple different studios, and we're using different mics, and there's some issue, and we might have to re-record certain portions of this, or
Hmm.
we would say, oh, okay, this is fine, but we need to nail the tuning part, right? Let's send this out to someone who would tune it and give it back and all this stuff. um, so yeah, so the mixing process happens. That's usually
Hmm.
a week or two, and then sir will come and sit once or twice. He'll give us 2 sittings to finalize the mix. One would be just him sitting and hearing the mix that we have. He would just make sure that uh, the whole thing's not messed up than what it was before, and we are in the right direction, and we are making progress in that last 10% in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then he would come and give us tips on what's the best way to achieve that last few percentage.
Yeah.
um, and this last for few percent, it's always like a cat and mouse game. Like, today he would say, make a cake, we will make a cake. He will come, put cherry on top, and says, you idiots, this is what cake is. Next session we would make a cake with a cherry on top. He would come and see, he will come sprinkle some shiny things on top and say, you idiots, this is what cake should be. And then next time we'll come back and do the same thing. He'll come put some other thing on top. So the all my life I always thought, like, oh shit, we are not good enough. But right now I know enough, I have enough experience to learn that that last 10% is always a cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
And he himself is always trying to push the limits. So it's him trying to push the limits is what asking, making him come and ask for a little more better every single time from us.
Hmm. Hmm.
And um, and that's been always been the case. So coming back to the mixing journey, and then once we have tweak all that stuff, all the changes that he wants, then he would come back, on just probably before the deadline. Sometime before that, he would come and finalize all the songs, and we would hear it in the car, go for a ride, hear it in the car, and come off in some of the other sessions, some of other systems like home theater and other stuff.
Hmm.
And then the mix get finalized, and that's what you know and then it goes to the mastering engineer. My job ends there.
Right.
So typically, the master then it becomes a mastering engineer problem where his whole thing is he has to make sure that the loudness and the whole quality is matching to the industry standard,
Right.
so that in YouTube it's not too soft or too loud, and it's those kind of things. Um,
So is that
and
usually Suresh?
yeah, that is usually Suresh Verma.
Yeah.
Um, right.
Right.
That's the typical journey of a song. It's kind of a long process. And as I said, I know I have no involvement in the composition part, and I have no involvement in the mastering part. In pretty much the whole middle section, I've literally been part of every single thing in my whole experience, and
Yeah.
kind of by God's grace have been part of every single aspect of the whole journey.
Amazing. Amazing. And I do have a few questions that came out of the in-depth walkthrough that you just gave. I
Hmm.
love conversations like this, and you can obviously see how excited I am. Thing is, I mean, are you usually part of almost every song, or does Sir choose? Okay, this song Krishna, this song maybe someone else, and or the question is,
Yeah.
how does he know who needs to work on what?
So the thing that we have to understand is, like, every person's character kind of shows in his work, like,
Mm,
especially
mm,
in music.
mm.
And that is why Sir's music is so special. It's I think, it's my humble opinion that it's the purity of his heart shows in his music.
True.
um, um, so each people have their own strengths, like,
Mm,
I am as Sir typically gives me a little more fun songs, energetic, a little more commercial, and all this energetic fun songs.
mm,
And he would work on more the romantic and love songs and the most important melody songs. He himself would work on it,
mm.
and very rarely he would send out to other people to work on it. And
Right.
like, it could be some special strings arrangement
Mm,
that he is looking for, or it could be some special genre type
mm,
arrangement, like, okay, maybe if it's a melody song, but it's a jazz melody song,
mm,
and he kind of does the main idea, and then he sends it out to someone who specializes in that genre of arrangement,
mm.
and then they would take it further, uh, and then he would obviously tweak it once it comes back.
Right. Wow, very nice. And just when you gave me a walkthrough of the whole life cycle, right? You mentioned about the recording the flute portions or the guitar portions and things like that. Uh, my question is, who makes that call again? Does Sir say that flute needs to come here and it should be guitar, or is that more like a creative process, like within the team? I'm just curious.
At that point, Sir has already played the flute with a keyboard flute, and that
Oh,
section is
wow.
already there. So it's a decision of whether do we keep the keyboard flute or we record the live flute,
Yeah.
and that call is usually done by Sir.
Yeah.
And if I mean, obviously, we suggest saying, I would sometimes suggest saying, Sir, this song can really use a live bass, and we can really go for live rhythms in this
Mm,
song,
mm.
those kind of stuff. um, and of course, he would agree with it, and he will
Right, right, right. And also, the other question that I had was with regards to the singers. Obviously, Sir usually goes with his instinct, saying this person could sing. And I would like to know, has there been instances? I'm sure you would have come across this during your journey with Sir, uh, all through the years, where Sir obviously has chosen a singer, but the director or the producer or someone else from the movie team says, "Sir, you need to sing. We want you to sing." How, what happens there?
not one project. I think it'll happen in every single project, like, and then it becomes Sir's decision whether to oblige to their request, or do justice to the singer who has already done
Yeah.
a great justice to the song. So if the singer has really done a fantastic job, then it becomes a tough call for Sir to
Mm.
step on his shoes and replace him. Um, but but if it's usually Money Sir or someone that he really values, then he would do it for them.
Mm. Right. Okay. Nice. And of course, like, as part of your journey again with Sir and the entire team, you'd have obviously had the privilege of traveling with Sir as well. And any memories that comes to your mind, and I'm pretty sure there should be one memory with regards to food, and you would probably know what I'm talking about.
Um, so when it comes to travel, like AR is, I mean, being in this team is one of the boring this is like one of the boring teams to be on, like, because apart from going and working, we don't do anything else. I went to I went to London, I think 4 or 5 times before I actually saw the London Bridge. And that too, I saw the London Bridge while traveling in Sir's car, while traveling along with Sir, and he showed me, "Hey Chetan, look, this is London Bridge. If we have time, we'll come back." That never happened. So, and of course, it doesn't go out, like anywhere that people, any other regular musicians go out to hang out and enjoy and all that stuff. He, he's a spiritual person, goes
Mm,
to a lot of, mosques and all this stuff.
mm,
But we would, obviously, some time to time we would go to movies. Here,
mm,
Sir would, um, he would take us to whatever movies that he is going. Then he would take us to that, and I think that would be one of the, that's like what we can expect max out of a trip. And then But there would always be this, uh, a little more intimate relationship that you can have from what you can have from in Chennai, because he's isolated from all this, the crowd and fans here. He's a little
is
more,
he is he more relaxed outside?
he is, yeah, he's more relaxed, and typically he would, actually he would start after he reaches his US house or whatever.
Yeah.
He would take some deep rest, like,
Yeah.
1 or 2 days he would just rest first, gain his energy back before typically
Yeah.
before starting on a new project or whatever. um but the advantage in traveling with him, you get to know him a little more intimately, and sometimes you would get the chance to stay in the same house, in the guest room, or somewhere very close by. And
Mm,
then, yeah, I really like traveling with him, because even though it's not fun in the fun way, but it's more pleasant. You get to know a side that you don't typically get to see
mm, mm.
here, because here he's too busy, like,
Of
the
course.
it's the pressure and all that stuff. It's it would, uh, I mean, it's not there when that kind of pressure is not there.
Mm,
So he's more relaxed, and we would work on we would try to keep some schedules in the US, like, people there, they work in, like, proper timings.
mm.
So we would try to keep up to their schedules, and so things are less hectic when we travel. And
Right.
but the travel is actually hectic. Because we are actually traveling with shitloads of equipments,
Of course.
gears, going there, setting it all up. Most of the times there are, like, these things are not matching with those things are not matching and all this. Then we all, go through this setting up process, copying all the projects that we took from here to there, making sure everything's working.
Yeah.
and sometimes things would not show up, open up. Then we'll have to make a panic call back to Chennai, wake the people here at midnights. Hey, go to studio, send me this file.
Right.
I hate doing that, but that happens as well.
Nice, nice. And do you remember the omelette story?
Oh yeah, oh okay. You were talking about the omelette story. So yeah, that happened on my very first trip with Sir, I think, and we were there together. He asked me, "Hey, do you know how to make omelette?" And I was like, "Why would I? Why should I know how to make omelette? I don't know." And he was like, "Oh, come, I'll show you." He kindly took me to the studio. Sorry, this the
Kitchen.
kitchen, and neatly showed me like properly like how to make an omelette and all that. And then he made one for me, one for himself, and we had. I was like super happy. Okay, I have. Sir made me omelette. This is the best breakfast ever, and all that. And then after the breakfast, he said, do you know why I made you omelette? Because from tomorrow you only have to make me omelette.
I love it. And did you make
So
it?
yeah, I did. I goofed a bit, little couple of times, and when we are traveling alone and staying alone in an apartment, those kind of stuff, we have to go. I have to go buy the meal outside from the restaurant, typically from halal
Yeah.
Arabic restaurants and those
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So I would walk, go. That would be the only walk I get. Like I would go walk, buy food, come back, and heat it up in the oven, give it to Sir.
Right.
And most of the time we are just working and time
Mm. Does
and
Sir
taking care
have a
of
favorite
ourselves.
dish?
Yeah, I think he likes the chicken, the barbecue
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I know there's one. Sorry, there's one Arabic dish that he really likes. I forget. Sorry, I forget. It's been some time. He really loves that, and he also likes Pakistani food.
Yeah.
We go to. He took me to a lot of one or two Pakistani food restaurants. His favorite restaurants in
Mm.
London. There's one street. Again, I'm forgetting the name.
Yeah.
Uh, he has some friends, some good Pakistani
Yeah.
restaurants. Yeah,
Nice. Nice.
and he also, I think Chinese and Pakistani food are his favorite.
Right. But Sir is typically not a usually foodie, and but he likes certain places when he travels. That's all he likes to try. But he's
Yeah,
not like a
of course.
foodie.
I think so. I think maybe when he was saying maybe he was a foodie,
Mm.
but now he's like okay, if I'm here, okay, let me try that kind of stuff.
Nice, nice.
Might as well.
And does Sir have a nickname for you?
I think he only calls me Chetan. I
Right.
don't know. Maybe someone else should know.
No, no. I'm just asking you. No one told me anything.
No, I think he just calls me Chetan, and yeah.
And when he does get not so very happy,
Mm-hmm.
what's that one thing that he tells you?
I I don't think he uses swear words and all, but he has this technique of making you feel really bad and guilty, even without using one bad word. He'll be like, he would like, I trusted you guys, you let me down, and all this. He would make you, like yeah, but he's just trying to get his job work done.
Yeah. And you guys, as a team, do you guys have a team meeting or something? You're a You're a big team now, though, right?
We yeah, I think when it comes to background scores, we would have team meeting, and it mostly be me and the other
Mm,
the newer generation of programmers and all those
mm,
stuff. We would have, within the, like, the whatever work which was given to me or assigned to us, we would plan within ourselves on how to execute it. um but sir's plan would be like, it's more on the top level, and he's like, okay, if this is the deadline, this is when I should start. He would typically start early, um and end up
right,
finishing late.
right. Wow. Yeah, of course. I mean,
That's because of the quality, right? Like, that, and if you actually look at some of the TED videos, that's how some of the great innovating minds are.
yeah,
So the giving yourself the chance to procrastinate a bit.
yeah,
um, you start on an idea early,
yeah,
and then when you are refining that idea, you give yourself a little more time and procrastinate a
mm,
little bit,
mm,
so that, you know until you reach that idea where you crack that, balance of
mm,
uh, everything.
mm,
um, so to reach that point, it takes a little bit of time. I think, we don't intentionally delay things, but in fact, we try to start early most
mm,
of the times. But even though if we start early, we would some most of the times, like, cross the deadline slightly, and then deliver it, because of all the quality control process and stuff.
yeah, of course. Has there been a project or a song which has been the toughest for you or the most challenging? Probably that's the right word.
Hmm. In terms of mixing or arrangement, or
It could be anything that comes to your mind.
I think my first ever um, big project to mix, like, like,
Mm,
my first biggest project was Kocharian, which is like, that's Rajini sir's project
yeah,
and all that
yeah,
stuff, with SPB sir singing.
yeah.
And the single was supposed to release really as soon as possible. And we were working on the Engo Pogdo Vanam, that
Mm,
track.
mm,
and and it really took a lot of time for us, because it was actually a simple song, but to get everything right.
yeah.
We had recorded, foreign orchestras and all that stuff.
Mm,
So for me, it was w- kind of, I think, the first time for me to integrate foreign orchestra into like a Indian film song.
mm.
So I had to go through that process of, like, bringing those 30 odd 30 35 odd mics into two tracks.
Wow.
So, and then, making it all sound, it needs to have that orchestral edge, but it also needs to sound Indian. That was the challenge, right? So it's a Rajni Sire. It needs to be fun. It's an introduction song, so it needs to compel and reach a wide audience and attract the masses.
Mm,
But it has all this orchestral, international stuff in it. So how do we balance it? Like, and SPB says voice, and we have to do justice for that. So for me, at that point, that was like a big challenge, which I think we
mm.
managed to crack it properly.
Yeah, I mean, for me to just think about that itself is like a big challenge in front of me. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know how you did it, but amazing, man. That album has been, it's just like it's an album that I listen to even today. So
thank you.
great. And
Good.
buddy, the thing is, I mean, look, I would love to touch upon so many other aspects and keep you here for hours and hours, and we could just go on
Mhm.
talking and talking. And but the thing is, I have to, also give you back your creative time. Otherwise, I'll get a call from Sir later. And so, I just wanted to ask, buddy, the thing is, I mean, this journey is extremely special. It'll be treasured for a long, long time, this podcast journey. And I really hope that there's another podcast 2.0 where we can get you back and your other team members also back for more conversations. I really hope that happens. And so, with that said, I know you have the luxury of working with Sir and you see him almost every day. And I would like you to say something to Sir via this podcast. Could be a message or could be a dedication to him about anything. If there's anything that you would like to share, and I will ensure that he sees this.
Um, I don't know. I meet him personally, like every single day. If there's anything I can tell him directly, but um, what I would say is like technology is always evolving, and music is like and music is always going to be there, and it just takes different forms and shapes. And today, I think like the one of the biggest challenges that we have is an artist not able to sustain himself
Mm,
in music
mm,
by choosing music. And and I think a person of his caliber, if he really puts in his effort, can solve this problem. Okay. I think there's multiple ways to do it, and the end goal is very simple. We have to make people pay for music again, right? Music is not free because people are putting in so much hard work.
yeah.
And when you listen to something free, anything that you get for free, you don't value, right?
Mm, mm,
um, Imagine those days, Tal and all those big albums. You got it for free. Would you value it that much?
true.
Only because you waited. There was a limited supply. There was a cost. There was a value attached to it. There was even more personal attachment to those
Mm,
albums. I think we have to bring that sense of value back to music,
mm,
and I think he can really do it. And if we can come up with a different platform, like iTunes for India, and um, just for individual artists or any composer who can just come and put in his album inside that,
mm,
and he can put whatever price he wants. He can price his album without a need for any label or anything. He can put out his album saying, "Hey, this is my album, and this is what I want to price."
mm,
And you can't listen to this album anywhere else in the world, right? So the person can come and listen to that album in that platform, and if he wants, he can download it, those whatever he purchased into his phone. He can listen to it anywhere. um, and I think with the technology it is possible, and it's more than possible possibility. It's not a thing of possibility. I think it's a thing of conviction that some of these big people really have to do. All these people have to come together and start bringing back the value to the album, because only then all the people who are studying music and who wants to choose music, uh, you know uh, even if they have like 2 3 successful albums in their career, they should be able to sustain their whole lives. That is how it used to be in the US in the 80s 90s. Some of the so-called albums, they only had one biggest hit album in their life, and they're living off of it. And if we can make something like that, um, that would be amazing. That would be his biggest achieve I mean, like, giving back thing to anyone.
right. It's a very
The
interesting thing
Yeah.
that you just said. Yeah, very, very interesting one and a thought provoking one too. And have you shared this with Sir before?
No, I don't have the balls.
Right. And the thing is, I mean, it's not it's as an extension to what you just said. There's also another thing that has been in my mind and has been in a number of Sirs fans' minds as well. I live in Australia, as you know, and then a number of I mean, his fans are all over the world, and we rely on the streaming platforms like Spotify and iTunes and whatever, Apple Music. Now the issue is, it's regionalized. For example, Tirada Tirada album, there's only one song, Veerapandi Kotail, is that's the only song available here in Australia, whereas in India
Hmm.
the entire album is available. And there are
Right.
some albums which are available only here in Australia and not in India. And uh, ideally, if if we could get a platform dedicated just for ARR music, that's it. I'm just saying, I hope this
Hmm.
happens one day, where it's just anything under the Panchatan recording, Panchatan studio, this is going to be there in that platform. This
Hmm.
idea, I don't know, we need to float this to Sir, or unless
So
he's
yeah,
already got it.
I think it's very easily doable thing, because as we all know, Sir owns most of his rights, so it's easily achievable. But technology is also there. Um, uh, but it's just this whole ecosystem today is uh, it's built in a certain structure, and
Mm,
he has to make all of the whole structure, people involved in the whole structure, happy,
right.
in order to reach that end audience, right? And it's fair because each people are doing some, they're also giving back in some way and adding value today. But I think it has been diminishing for a long time, um, uh, because before, the record labels used to provide the studios, pay big rents for the studios, protect the artists and all this stuff. Today they're not doing any of those, and people are making music in their laptops,
Mm,
right? um, so why don't they directly release, and they price whatever they want to price, you
mm,
know
mm, mm,
um, it could be small. Some even people can even release it for free, right?
mm,
It's their choice, it's the artist's choice, and they're not entitled, tangled with any of the
mm,
any other this thing, unless they bring in value to it.
mm. All right. Great. Buddy, it's been amazing, man. And look, you gave me an hour and a half of your precious time. I really appreciate it. This, as I said, these conversations are going to be treasured, and many of your fans and heaps of Sirs fans would be so eager and keen to watch this and hear this, and pretty sure they're going to be asking you for more and more sessions like this. And it'll be very inspiring. In fact, when I think about it, you've come up with something so cool in the pandemic. You've made the best use of that time to come up with something new. And you should really do more like, how should I say, a masterclass or something like that just for this. And I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of people who would be very interested in hearing you speak about this in depth. So you might want to consider that. I would be more than happy to create that audience for you to come and hear you speak. Have a think about it.
Sure, I mean, like, if there is a need for it, we can definitely do it.
Yeah. So, buddy, thank you heaps, man, and really appreciate it. Thanks for your valuable time, and
Thanks so much.
really
Thanks,
appreciate it.
thanks for considering me, and um, sorry I was not able to give time in the previous time when you asked, and I'm really happy that I was able to join this time. So my thanks to all the Sirs fans, and have a nice day.